What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Crossover. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Married to the Goddess of Death in Marvel Part 7. Now, let's begin. A decade ago, Aldrich Killian was not well known. During that period, he held great admiration for Tony Stark, the brilliant prodigy. Nevertheless, he experienced a period of deep sadness and dedicated considerable energy to connecting with Tony. He shared his research findings with Tony, discussing a genetic project known as Project Extremis. Regrettably, Tony was inexperienced and thoughtless at that time, and he failed to honor his commitment. Tony had scheduled a meeting with Killian on the rooftop at night to talk about Killian's Project Extremis. However, Tony spent the entire evening engaged in conversation with a captivating woman. Meanwhile, Killian patiently lingered on the rooftop until daybreak, experiencing a roller coaster of emotions before ultimately surrendering. Since then, Killian had lost all respect for Tony. He transformed his admiration into unending animosity. He vowed to eventually make Tony experience the same humiliation he had endured. This is the incident that occurred a decade ago. One could argue that all of Tony's experiences today were the result of his actions from a decade ago. Little did Tony know that his beloved woman, Miss Pepper, was about to become the next target of the Ten Rings and Killian. Naruto didn't have to wait for very long. Several days later, Tony, fully healed from his injury, arrived at Naruto's manor with crucial information about the mysterious figure pulling the strings. Thanks to Tony's Jarvis and the SHIELD investigation, any organization on the planet can be located with remarkable speed. We have received confirmation that the individual responsible for launching the projectiles at our location is none other than the notorious Ten Rings. This organization is highly influential, exerting control over numerous terrorist organizations and maintaining partnerships with nearly all major arms companies. This is a highly respected organization operating discreetly, and Mandarin is the leader of this prominent group. Tony handed over the organized information to Naruto. So, where is the location of Mandarin? Naruto inquired of Tony. He showed no concern for the immense power of the Ten Rings organization. He simply wanted to inquire about the whereabouts of the individual who launched projectiles at his residence. If Naruto hadn't been properly prepared, his manor would have collapsed once more, which was completely unacceptable to him. Who could endure the constant destruction of their own home every few days? Currently, we are actively working to locate Mandarin. This person is quite enigmatic. Currently, we have identified a leader named Killian, who is also one of our targets. Having mentioned that, Tony Stark produced a photograph of Killian. Naruto examined the photo and gave a confirming nod. You can work with this individual named Killian. I will handle the rat named Mandarin. Naruto instructed Tony and delegated a task to him. Tony and SHIELD were unable to locate Mandarin, but that didn't mean Naruto couldn't find him either. Tony nodded, slightly perplexed. Right as Tony was about to continue speaking, his cell phone abruptly started ringing. Tony glanced at his cell phone and discovered that it was his close friend Happy who had given him a call. What seems to be the issue? Tony approached Naruto directly without hesitation. Tony, it is imperative that you return immediately. Excuse me, Miss Pepper. Miss Pepper was escorted elsewhere. Happy's voice was tinged with frustration as he believed he had not fulfilled Tony's instructions. Perhaps the most pressing concern was the absence of Miss Potts, leaving everyone uncertain of her fate. Upon hearing Happy's words, Tony's expression quickly soured. I will return shortly. Please wait for me. Following the previous crisis, Tony and Miss Potts had formed a professional relationship. Given the unexpected news of his girlfriend's kidnapping, it's understandable that Tony would feel a great deal of anxiety. Naruto acknowledged Tony and gestured for him to attend to his own affairs. Meanwhile, Naruto was aware that this storyline closely resembled that of Iron Man 3. Next, Tony was preparing to battle against Dr. Killian, who had been infected with the Extremis virus. As expected, Tony emerged victorious in the final battle. Regarding Dr. Killian, Naruto had no interest in him. He was merely a minor player, a pawn in the grand scheme. The true orchestrator behind the scenes was Mandarin, and Naruto was determined to confront him. Shortly after, Tony hastily departed from Naruto's manor. He was determined to rescue his girlfriend and resolve the conflicts he had caused a decade ago. Regarding Naruto, he He encountered Hela after Tony's departure. Can you assist me in locating an individual named Mandarin? I need to address some issues with him. Naruto inquired of Hela. Hela's presence instilled him with unwavering confidence in his ability to locate Mandarin. Naruto was aware that Hela had successfully subdued Hydra, and he had no objections to her actions. Despite the fear it instilled in Earth's inhabitants, Hydra appeared insignificant to Naruto and Hela, merely resembling a small toy. It was the type of tool that had limited practicality, only proving useful on rare occasions. I will assist you in locating him. Hela agreed without hesitation. She dialed Alexander Pierce, the leader of Hydra, on her phone. Upon hearing her request, Alexander Pierce immediately took action and began searching for Mandarin. It's worth noting that Hela is now recognized as the goddess of Hydra. After diligently reviewing numerous files and harnessing the immense power of Hydra, Pierce was able to uncover valuable information. Mandarin is a highly influential figure who heads the Ten Rings, a notorious individual. Despite previous collaborations between Hydra and the Ten Rings, our knowledge regarding Mandarin remains limited. Based on my understanding, he is currently located in the Arab region. If you could kindly grant me additional time, I am confident that I will be able to uncover more information. Pierce responded, displaying a humble demeanor. Even over the phone, you could envision Pierce nodding and showing respect. I understand. That's all. As always, Hela maintained her professional demeanor towards others. With a brief response, she proceeded to inform Naruto about the news. Naruto wasted no time and made immediate plans to travel to the Arab region. I will return early around noon, so there is no need for you to prepare lunch. I am fully capable of handling it on my own. Before departing, Naruto made sure to remind Hela about his preference to avoid the unpleasantness of poorly cooked food for lunch. All right, I will patiently await your return. Hela greeted Naruto with a friendly smile. She failed to grasp the significance of Naruto's words. She believed Naruto was suggesting that she should take more time to rest. Shortly after Naruto departed, Hela picked up a book and began to flip through its pages. Hela's unwavering passion for the culinary arts was evident in her continued fascination with the complete guide to cooking. The book served as a constant reminder of her lifelong aspiration to become a chef. When it comes to the Arab region, many people initially perceived it as chaotic. Due to the presence of terrorist organizations, this region has gained a reputation as one of the most perilous areas in the world. However, it is not widely known that many of these terrorist organizations emerged following the arrival of certain Western countries. However, Naruto was indifferent to these matters. He had a specific objective in mind when he arrived in this area to locate the Mandarin. A missile was launched at Naruto's house by the Mandarin. If Naruto hadn't decapitated Mandarin, he would consider it a defeat. Even with only an approximate location provided by Hydra, Hela's discovery was sufficient for Naruto. Currently, Naruto was soaring through the skies of the Arab region, observing the terrain below. From Naruto's perspective, the land below held no secrets. Naruto had the remarkable ability to perceive the mines even at a depth of 1,000 meters. There were oil, natural gas, and even a gold mine. With his exceptional vision, Naruto has the potential to excel in the mineral industry, even if he decides to transition away from being a copywriter. However, Naruto remained focused on his purpose, eliminating the need for any unnecessary actions. Eventually, Naruto discovered the whereabouts of the Mandarin. This experienced individual constructed their base over 100 meters deep underground. It's no surprise that even SHIELD couldn't locate him. Naruto acted without hesitation. He descended rapidly, his gaze emitting intense beams of heat that carved a profound cavity in the earth. Naruto effortlessly created an opening in Mandarin's impenetrable underground base. After descending into the hole, Naruto infiltrated Mandarin's base. The elderly gentleman gazed at Naruto with astonishment as he materialized within his hidden underground lair. He seemed to be slightly perplexed. Ultimately, Naruto's appearance was excessively theatrical. However, his facial expression swiftly reverted back to its usual state. After all, he was an experienced individual who had faced numerous challenges. Despite his initial confusion, he remained calm and composed. Adorned with 10 rings, he assumed a regal posture on his throne. casting a gaze upon Naruto. Before him stood a multitude of Ten Rings members, clad in traditional robes, their gaze fixed fiercely upon Naruto, who had boldly infiltrated their stronghold. "May I ask about your identity? Are you challenging me by intruding into my kingdom like this?" The Mandarin spoke. His tone exuded a sense of superiority and frustration. This was a typical occurrence. The Mandarin had held a prestigious position since his birth. Eventually, with the acquisition of 10 magical rings, he ascended to the rank of emperor in the underground realm, where he has reigned for an extensive period. He had a certain air of confidence and self-assuredness about him. "Excuse me, but I find it rather perplexing that you would launch a missile at my residence and then have the audacity to forget about our previous encounter." Naruto observed the elderly man before him with a cool gaze, specifically focusing on the 10 rings held by the Mandarin. Each of these 10 rings possessed a unique and extraordinary power. Additionally, it served as the inspiration for the name of the 10 Rings organization. Despite the Mandarin's relatively modest reputation, his strength was truly terrifying. His birth year was 1920. He has honed his martial arts skills since childhood and has achieved an exceptional level of physical prowess. Afterwards, the individual came across a spaceship that had crashed on Earth. Within that spacecraft, the Mandarin acquired an extensive understanding of the advanced technology and mystical arts of a mysterious extraterrestrial society, ultimately gaining possession of 10 powerful rings. Every single one of these rings possessed incredible magical abilities, showcasing the immense power within the Marvel Universe. Considering this information alone, it is unlikely that the Mandarin's strength is low. In the original storyline, Mandarin was depicted as Iron Man's arch-nemesis. Tony couldn't overcome Mandarin until he reached an advanced level. If Tony were to confront Mandarin at this moment, his life would be in grave danger. "Are you a professional?" Upon hearing Naruto's statement, the Mandarin found himself slightly perplexed. He had no knowledge of Naruto, but he did recall launching some missiles at Tony Stark's residence. Furthermore, Naruto did not don any sort of metallic armor, thus making it clear that he was not in any way resembling Iron Man. Interestingly, Mandarin had been pitted by Killian. Mandarin's motivation for targeting Tony stemmed from the disrespect Tony had shown him. However, it is unclear what caused Killian to make a grave mistake, resulting in the accidental firing of 2 missiles at Naruto's manor. Through his expertise, Naruto successfully located the Mandarin. However, the Mandarin was completely unfamiliar with Naruto's identity. This could be considered a major setback for the Mandarin, as it was caused by his less competent pig teammates. If he were aware of the cause, Mandarin would undoubtedly eliminate Killian. Wasn't this against the rules? It's perfectly understandable if we haven't been acquainted yet, as I am interested in getting to know you. You are not a respectable individual anyway. Naruto had no desire to engage in further conversation with Mandarin. He was here with a clear purpose, not for engaging in a discussion. Given Mandarin's reluctance to acknowledge the truth, he resorted to using force to compel him to confess. The Mandarin grew frustrated with Naruto's lack of understanding. Given Naruto's status as an adversary, the decision was made to swiftly eliminate him. Considering this, Mandarin assessed his team, and they swiftly charged towards Naruto in succession. Even though Mandarin's men were initially regular individuals, they underwent a remarkable transformation thanks to Mandarin's extraordinary magic. They were no longer recognizable as humans. Their power surpassed that of Captain America, and their body, enhanced by magic, was impervious to harm. Nevertheless, in Naruto's perspective, they appeared indistinguishable from regular individuals. As Naruto contemplated, a shimmering portal materialized beneath the feet of Mandarin's men. They quickly tumbled and disappeared into the shimmering portal. In the absence of any mishap, Mandarin's men would emerge at an elevation of 8,000 meters. Then, they would gracefully descend back to the familiar Earth. Regarding the question of whether they would survive or perish, Naruto wasn't preoccupied. This portal was an incredibly effective technique against non-flying enemies. If you were skilled enough to create the portal quickly, you had complete control over where your enemy ended up, be it in the sky, underground, or at the bottom of the sea, 10,000 meters deep. Upon witnessing Naruto's portal, Mandarin's demeanor shifted to one of utmost gravity. As a practitioner of the mystic arts at Kamar Taj, I recall that I never intended to incite any conflict with sorcerers like yourself. Mandarin gazed at Naruto and spoke deliberately. He appeared somewhat intimidated by the mages of Kamar Taj. As an experienced creature who had roamed the earth for nearly a century, Mandarin possessed a wealth of knowledge that surpassed that of the average person. For instance, the various unseen influences on our planet. Kamar Taj was among them. You should be aware that I am here to disrupt your plans. Naruto didn't allow Mandarin any opportunity to clarify himself. He wasn't exactly a decent person to begin with. Now that they had met, today was a rather unfortunate day for Mandarin. At that instant, a swarm of mirror butterflies emerged from Naruto's body. Almost instantly, Mandarin found themselves surrounded by a swarm of mirror butterflies. Upon surveying his surroundings, Mandarin discovered that he had materialized on a vast expanse of land. Naruto, on the other hand, found himself suspended above his head. He appeared to be observing him from a higher vantage point. Mirror space. The Mandarin quickly identified Naruto's technique and realized that he had been drawn into the mirror space by Naruto. This caused Mandarin's expression to sour. He was taken aback by the lack of professionalism displayed by the junior in front of him. Instead of giving him a chance to explain himself, the junior immediately resorted to fighting. Mandarin was feeling extremely down. Even at this point, he remained uncertain about the situation. Naruto seemed determined to settle a score, leaving Mandarin puzzled about the origins of their enmity. Naruto failed to provide an explanation to him. He immediately engaged in combat upon arrival. He failed to provide an explanation for his vengeful intentions. However, Mandarin remained a resilient individual, never compromising his self-respect. Naruto, a junior, wasted no time in taking action. Did he truly believe that Mandarin was a language that could be easily dominated? After entering the mirror space, Mandarin wasted no time in launching a counterattack. Mandarin confidently raised his left hand, causing the ring on his index finger to emit a brilliant glow. Next, a 100-meter-long flame emerged from the ring and swiftly headed towards Naruto. 10 rings, 10 different types of magic. Flame magic was among them. Naruto gazed confidently at the approaching flame. With a single thought, a massive shield made of shimmering golden mana materialized before Naruto. A powerful flame collided with the magic shield, causing a spectacular explosion of fiery energy. However, all of their attempts were futile against the impenetrable golden shield, leaving Naruto completely unharmed. Mandarin's demeanor also grew more solemn. Naruto's performance was impressive, prompting him to adopt a more serious demeanor. Next, the ring on the Mandarin's little finger on his left hand suddenly illuminated, and a freezing white icicle swiftly launched towards Naruto, freezing everything in its path. Alongside the previous partner, Mandarin appeared as a master of contrasting elements. Naruto, being the proactive individual that he is, refused to simply accept his fate and do nothing. He shifted his gaze and observed the icicle hurtling towards him. Then Naruto's eyes suddenly lit up and 2 intense beams of heat shot out. They landed right on the approaching icicle. The intense heat rays quickly melted the icicle. Based on the scene, Naruto and the Mandarin appeared to be evenly matched. If one of them desired to emerge victorious over the other, then these methods proved to be insufficient. The Mandarin clenched his teeth and lifted his right hand. A ring adorned with golden squares gradually illuminated the ring finger of his right hand. Without warning, a vibrant burst of energy erupted from the object. Every substance, molecule, and atom in the path of this powerful energy beam was completely obliterated. The disintegration beam stood out as the most formidable technique among the 10 rings. Whenever it was utilized, there was a cooldown period of 20 minutes. This move has always been Mandarin's strongest advantage. However, Mandarin no longer felt the need to conceal his true abilities. He utilized all of his resources to swiftly overcome Naruto. Confronted with Mandarin's assault this time, Naruto felt a small sense of contentment. This move was quite impressive. Otherwise, this fight would have been too dull. Indeed, Naruto showed a lack of dedication towards learning Mandarin. Otherwise, Naruto would have swiftly defeated Mandarin in a matter of seconds. Naruto allowed Mandarin to launch an attack in order to witness the sheer might of the 10 rings. Additionally, he sought to gain valuable experience in battling magicians to better prepare himself for future encounters with more formidable opponents. Since acquiring the body template of General Zod and Ancient Doomsday, Naruto has developed a deep fear of magic. Now, he had transformed into a formidable evil god. General Zod and Ancient Doomsday's magic resistance was insufficient. Naruto was determined to compensate for his weaknesses in this field to the best of his abilities. It would be ideal if he could find a way to be protected from magic. If that were true, Naruto would dismiss the Mandarin with a single glance and swiftly eliminate him. Instead, he had to gain experience by battling against magicians like this. If the Mandarin had any inkling of Naruto's thoughts, it would surely have infuriated him to the point of utter frustration. Naruto had never once considered the Mandarin as a worthy adversary. Currently, Mandarin was filled with optimism as he believed his disintegration beam had the potential to deal a fatal blow to Naruto. Regrettably, a white energy materialized in front of Naruto and swiftly transformed into a protective magic shield that encased him entirely. Next, a powerful disintegration beam struck the magic shield with precision. Despite the formidable power of the disintegration beam, Naruto's white magic shield proved to be even more resilient. It effectively neutralized the disintegration beam. Upon witnessing the white energy, Mandarin was taken aback, his eyes widening in astonishment. The strength of pure magic. The Mandarin demonstrated a high level of expertise, effortlessly identifying the source of Naruto's magical shield. It was due to this that the Mandarin became aware that something was amiss. Prior to Naruto employing white magic, Mandarin maintained the belief that Naruto was merely an inexperienced mage, leaving room for the possibility of his victory. However, after Naruto utilized the white magic, his confidence was completely shattered. Mandarin was widely recognized and respected in the magic community. He was well aware of the reputation of white magic indeed. White magic was the renowned skill of the esteemed supreme sorcerer Yao. With his own lackluster magic pitted against the renowned white magic, the Mandarin found himself lacking any confidence in this moment. The only thing he could rely on was the possibility that Naruto's proficiency in white magic was not yet advanced, giving him a slim chance of survival. Otherwise, he could only anticipate his demise. Considering this, the Mandarin clenched his teeth and decided to give it a try. In the blink of an eye, the 9 magic rings adorning the Mandarin's hands emitted a brilliant glow. Next, the user was bombarded with a barrage of powerful magical assaults. Electromagnetic light wave, flame, frost, laser, thunder, storm, mind control. A multitude of magic attacks filled the entire space, leaving no refuge from their onslaught. It's impressive to think about the immense power of these magics. Conventional human weapons proved to be ineffective against these formidable magical assaults. It was clear that the 10 magic rings in his possession had the power to conquer small and medium-sized countries on Earth. Their army's firepower was not as impressive as a Mandarin's. Nevertheless, being the primary focus of numerous magical assaults, Naruto declined. In his opinion, these magic attacks were not up to par. The disintegration beam emitted by one of the 10 rings of Mandarin could be considered a respectable form of attack. Regarding the other attacks, Naruto easily shrugged them off without any concern. Considering this, Naruto lost all motivation to continue playing as he couldn't gain any experience from battling Mandarin. "It's finished, Mandarin," Naruto murmured softly, and then he vanished from Mandarin's sight. Without warning, Mandarin was suddenly overcome by a sharp sensation in his neck, causing him to swiftly lose consciousness. Naruto observed the Mandarin, who showed no signs of life, and disapprovingly shook his head before skillfully removing the rings from his hands. Although Naruto found these rings to be less durable, they still provided some level of protection. He was also acquiring it at a very low cost, regardless. Regarding Naruto's speed, that was a fundamental operation. It was a mirrored space, not Earth, so Naruto didn't have to hold back his speed. The incredible speed Naruto gained from the body template of General Zod was nearly on par with the Flash, not to mention the additional boost from the body template of the Ancient Doomsday. If Naruto desired, He could effortlessly complete 100 or 80 laps around the Earth in a mere second. However, if such an action were to occur, it would have a significant impact on the air currents and ultimately lead to a severe deterioration of the climate. Given Naruto's exceptional speed, it would be quite remarkable if the Mandarin could even manage to react. If Mandarin truly possessed great power, there would be no reason for him to cower in fear before the Supreme Sorcerer. In this scenario, without even considering the competition from the Supreme Sorcerer would have no choice but to accept his presence. And completed. Let's wrap up our work and head home. Naruto pondered quietly. Naruto remained completely composed when it came to eliminating the villain Mandarin. It seemed as though he performed a minor, inconsequential task. Nevertheless, his frustration from the destruction of his house by the missiles had nearly been released. Regarding Tony, he should be finished with Aldrich as well. Naruto pondered with a hint of doubt. Just like Naruto, Tony also managed to defeat his adversary. Despite encountering some challenges along the way, I am grateful that the outcome turned out to be quite remarkable. Incidentally, similar to Naruto, Tony also acquired his own loot, the Extremis virus. That was the extensive research of Dr. Killian. This virus has the remarkable ability to rapidly heal wounds and unlock the full potential of the human body. Anyone, regardless of their background, has the potential to transform into a formidable superhero simply by being exposed to this virus. Nevertheless, this virus had a significant side effect. When handling this virus, there was a significant risk of explosion. The previous incident at the stadium was carried out by an individual under the influence of the Extremis virus. He had caused an explosion in the audience. Upon encountering Miss Potts, who underwent a flawless fusion with the Extremis virus, Tony couldn't help but contemplate the situation. In such a tumultuous time, who wouldn't desire to become more powerful? Tony remained unchanged, not to mention the fact that he had set an exceedingly challenging objective for himself. He desired to question the divine. Nevertheless, Tony had no intention of taking the Extremis virus at this time. Tony chose to conduct a thorough study of the virus due to its significant side effects. He had a singular life. He was hesitant to risk his life on this small virus. "Let's return, please." Observing Pepper approaching him, Tony greeted her with a smile and set aside his thoughts momentarily. He hadn't intended to inform Pepper about his plan, as he knew Pepper would surely question his sanity. In addition, Naruto had recently rescued him from danger. He was a true professional. If he were to promptly start studying the armor designed to counter his savior, it would be rather unethical. He made sure not to disclose this type of information to Potts, as it could tarnish his reputation in her eyes. Iron Man was determined to maintain his reputation. Miss Potts didn't have a high opinion. She assisted Tony, who had a slight limp, in exiting the battlefield. Following the conclusion of the conflict with Dr. Killian and successfully resolving the Ten Rings crisis, Tony came to a significant realization. He was planning to marry Potts. They were planning to start a family together and support each other through all of life's joys and challenges. Actually, a few years ago, Tony and Potts were already in a relationship as a married couple, but they hadn't openly acknowledged it. However, following these recent events, Tony also set aside his light-hearted nature and truly embraced a more mature demeanor. Following the successful proposal, Tony decided to celebrate with a bachelor party, extending invitations to all of his friends. Of course, Naruto also received an invitation, so he brought Hela along to participate. Ever since assuming the role of Queen of Asgard, Hela's demeanor underwent a significant transformation. In the past, Hela solely focused on communicating with Naruto, disregarding his friends and any form of entertainment. However, Hela had become adept at seamlessly fitting into Naruto's life. Attending the party with Naruto was undeniable evidence of her professionalism. Alongside Naruto, numerous other individuals graced the occasion with their presence. Many of them were superheroes. Like the members of the Avengers, participants included Coulson and Nick Fury from S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as some of Tony's professional acquaintances. Upon Naruto's arrival, he was met with a less than enthusiastic reception. It's true that only a select few were acquainted with him. Naruto maintained a discreet presence, with only a select few aware of his true capabilities. One of them was Nick Fury. Upon witnessing the presence of Naruto and Hela, Nick Fury swiftly transitioned from a lighthearted conversation with Captain America to a more serious demeanor. He adopted a more upright posture, and his demeanor grew tense. This cunning marinated egg proved to be quite resourceful when confronted by Naruto and Hela. This was a departure from his typical self-assured demeanor. Naruto also noticed the presence of Nick Fury and the others, yet he chose not to acknowledge them. Given his lack of interest in the Avengers, it was only natural that he wouldn't make an effort to connect with them. Instead, he guided Hela to a secluded spot and shared a light-hearted joke with her in a hushed tone. This time, he attended the party solely to show respect to Tony. After all, Tony was his acquaintance. Shortly after Naruto took his seat, an old familiar face approached him. "Hello, Naruto. It's been a while since we last met." "Hey, Hela. It's nice to see you again." It was a highly skilled individual who came over. Naruto hadn't encountered him in quite a while. Compared to his previous state of seclusion, Dr. Banner appeared much healthier this time around. Perhaps it was due to the fact that after he became a part of the Avengers, he received support and assistance from someone. Otherwise, he should continue to evade capture. Naruto had a conversation with Dr. Banner. They were once friends and shared some common interests. Dr. Banner inquired about Naruto's hiatus from writing books. It's worth noting that Naruto had a remarkable ability to produce books at an impressive speed. Given his impressive writing speed, he has the ability to publish 3 books every month. For this question, Naruto simply smiled. He couldn't deny that he had achieved financial success, and now he simply aimed to save her life. Shortly after, Dr. Banner departed, and Tony approached Naruto, accompanied by Pepper. "Naruto, I'm truly grateful that you decided to join us. I aspire to be a loving and devoted partner, just like you." Tony clasped a glass of red wine, his voice filled with sincerity as he spoke to Naruto. Indeed, this individual made a conscious decision to transform himself into a true superhero. Hela, however, had an unprecedented conversation with Pepper. It is worth noting that Hela used to disregard everyone except Naruto. "By the way, did you extend an invitation to Thor? I haven't seen him throughout the entire night." Naruto inquired of Tony. He was also looking for an opportunity to assist his brother-in-law. "I extended an invitation to him, but Thor's girlfriend Jane encountered some unfortunate incidents, prompting him to quickly make his way over there." Tony shrugged and said with a hint of disappointment, "In the vast expanse of the universe amidst a celestial tapestry of perpetual darkness, on a massive spaceship, Malekith, the formidable leader of the Dark Elves, abruptly sensed a presence and glanced upwards in a specific direction. The next moment, he couldn't contain his excitement as his entire body trembled. I can sense the presence of ether particles. The ether particles have reawakened, and the eagerly anticipated moment for the Dark Elves has finally come." Malekith exclaimed with enthusiasm, rousing every Dark Elf on the entire spaceship from their slumber. Ether particles, a coveted possession of the Dark Elves, possess an immense power capable of reshaping the fabric of reality. In the past, the Dark Elves nearly plunged the entire 9 realms into darkness with ether particles. Eventually, Asgard intervened and engaged in a monumental battle, resulting in the containment of the ether particles and the defeat of the majority of the Dark Elves. Only a few of the remaining Dark Elves, under the leadership of Malekith, managed to survive by concealing themselves in this eternal dark corner of the universe until the present day. Since the tragic loss of our homeland, we have eagerly anticipated this day. We are determined to seek justice and eagerly anticipate regaining what we have lost. Today, my fellow individuals, our long-awaited chance has arrived, and our hopes have been fulfilled. The ether particles, which hold immense value, have been successfully revived. Can you please accompany me? To return to the 9 realms, to regain our honor, and to cleanse our history with the defeat of our foes." Malekith passionately urged the remaining Dark Elves to ignite their fervor. The other Dark Elves responded with a loud cry, just as he had anticipated. "We are ready to regain our former greatness and restore honor by defeating our adversaries in the 9 realms." The Dark Elves expressed their desires loudly. They were determined to seek retribution for which they had been patiently anticipating. please kindly consider adjusting the spaceship's course and heading back to the Nine Realms." Malekith nodded with a sense of accomplishment and instructed the helmsman of his ship to set a course for the Nine Realms. His eyes blazed with a fierce determination. "Asgard, I have returned. Earth, outside Naruto's residence." Thor, accompanied by the diligent Jane Foster, stood outside the gate and patiently awaited. Shortly after, Naruto arrived at the door. Upon spotting Thor and his girlfriend, he promptly allowed them entry. When they got back to the manor, Hela was there waiting for them. "Queen of Asgard, please save my girlfriend. She has encountered something bad." When Thor spotted Hela, he couldn't wait to plead. Hela gave a tiny nod before turning to face Thor's restless mortal girlfriend, Jane. Hela was considerably more powerful than Queen of Gods of Asgard than she had been previously. At a look, she could tell Jane had encountered something remarkable. "It's really interesting that you exist in my perception for a moment and then disappear the next moment," Hela commented, since it was the first time she had seen something like this. Hela guessed the cause. Ether particles, sometimes known as the fabled reality stone, possessed incredible potential to alter reality. Jane's present state resulted from her fusion with ether particles. In other words, Jane Foster's body now houses the reality stone, one of the 6 infinity stones. "What will I do? Could you save me?" Jane asked Hela anxiously, not daring to meet her gaze. This was also typical. Hela was now the Queen of Asgard, and her majesty was still revered by outsiders. "Yes, but not here. I'm going to take you back to Asgard where I can take the ether particles out of your body. Just in return, how about Asgard will keep these ether particles instead of you?" Hela spoke softly, stating her own conditions. This condition was not very severe. After all, when humans died, even something as valuable as a reality stone became meaningless. Jane Foster nodded immediately. She was young and didn't want to die yet. Thor was glad to see this, and his foolish smile returned. Hela also nodded in satisfaction. The deal was fair and reasonable. Then Hela gazed at Naruto. "How about you? Would you wish to travel back to Asgard with us, my dear?" Hela asked Naruto, and she would be delighted if Naruto agreed. Naruto bowed and accepted Hela's request. He wanted to walk over and see, since he was a bit concerned. After all, this was the reality stone, one of the most useful of the infinity stones. Not all of the 6 infinity stones were capable of exerting immense power when held alone. The space stone, for example, had endless energy but could only move through space. In addition, there was the soul stone. Its bearer would not develop powerful talents. Another example was the power stone or reality stone. Even if kept alone, they have the potential to be quite devastating. This was about the qualities of infinity stones. In reality, all stones were at the same level. It was only a matter of whether they could be used efficiently. This was the primary reason why the Infinity Gauntlet was so important. The Infinity Gauntlet may properly demonstrate the power of Infinity Stones. Everyone should understand what would happen if the 6 Infinity Stones were assembled. Dark Elves would assault Asgard in Thor 2, according to Naruto's memory. In comparison to Hela, the Dark Elves were little. Malekith, the ruler of the Dark Elves, was capable of using ether particles. Can Hela deal with Reality Stone? This was doubtful. Naruto didn't know the answer, so he followed her and had a look. If she couldn't handle it, he'd assist her. It was his fail-safe strategy. Hela's eyes softened after hearing Naruto's reply. However, because there were outsiders, she did not express much emotion. "Then let's go now." Hela addressed the gathering before using the space stone to create a 3-meter-high space channel. Without hesitation, everyone entered the channel one by one. They had already arrived in Asgard by the time they regained consciousness. Naruto was already intimately aware of Asgard as a result of his friendship with Hela. On the contrary, it was Jane Foster who was here for the first time and glanced about as soon as she arrived, her eyes wide with curiosity. The audience soon noticed Frigga, who appeared to have anticipated their arrival. "Hela, welcome home. Naruto, you too." Frigga spoke to Hela and Naruto with a grin at the corners of her mouth and sweet, compassionate eyes. Frigga was always in favor of Hela and Naruto being together. She just couldn't persuade the obstinate Odin else. Odin would not have perished. As a result, Frigga had no opinion on Naruto or Hela. Instead, she approached this situation with the perspective of an elder. That is why Naruto still holds a deep regard for the former queen. Then Frigga noticed Thor and Jane behind him. Frigga, who was already happy, grinned even bigger. "Thor, you finally came back to see me. Is this your lover? She is stunningly lovely." Frigga spoke to Jane with a warm expression. It looked as if she was staring at her daughter-in-law. This was the most significant distinction between Frigga and Odin. If Odin was still alive, he may have perished as a result of his fury after witnessing Hela and Naruto, as well as Thor and Jane. It was difficult for him to give birth to 2 children, yet both slept with humans. What a family tragedy. After speaking with Frigga, Hela left with Jane. They went to remove the ether particles from Jane's body. As a result, Naruto and Thor found it inconvenient to follow them because they had nothing to do with it. Heimdall, Asgard's protector, has a pair of eyes capable of seeing through all 9 worlds. In addition, his eyes could see past any disguise, making him the best bodyguard for detecting hostile activity. After Hela ascended to the god's throne, Heimdall was rehired rather than dismissed. Heimdall likewise chose not to retire since his purpose was to remain devoted to Asgard's god king. Since Hela has become the god king of Asgard, he will naturally be devoted to her. Today, as usual, Heimdall stood at the top of the Rainbow Bridge, guarding the 9 realms. Heimdall stared up into the sky as if sensing something. This gaze made Heimdall extremely anxious, because, in Heimdall's view, the formerly tranquil sky was filled with a variety of individual spaceships, as well as a massive cone-shaped spacecraft. An enemy attack. Heimdall immediately recalled these 2 words. These enemy ships possessed a cloaking stealth system. Thus, they were invisible to most people, only Heimdall saw them. After understanding that the people of Asgard had yet to find the adversary, Heimdall felt compelled to act. He instantly exited the Rainbow Bridge's control room, took up his weapon, and rushed across the bridge. When a spacecraft passed by him, he jumped from the Rainbow Bridge right onto it. Then he raised the large sword in his hand, angrily inserting it into the vessel. The hull of the individual spacecraft was then punctured, the stealth mechanism failed quickly, and the individual ship's location was revealed. Perhaps because the adversary believed their tracks had been disclosed, the other spacecraft that had entered Asgard ceased being invisible and presented themselves. And this time, the Asgardians were astonished. Another invasion of Asgard. In Asgard, deafening sirens rang out, as did horns indicating the enemy's entrance. Countless Asgardians snatched up their weapons one by one, spontaneously congregated, and began running toward the enemy. The Asgardians launched a sailing boat-like spaceship from the city, which flew towards the enemy's spaceship. From finding the adversary to assembling the army, the Asgardians made rapid adjustments. The inhabitants of Asgard were born with the instinct to fight. Thor, who was drinking with Naruto, also shifted from his intoxicated and fluffy state at this point, and a deadly aura appeared in his eyes. "I'll be right back," Thor remarked to Naruto before turning around and running out of the tavern. Naruto shook his head, realizing the Dark Elves had come. In the narrative, the Dark Elves' onslaught caused significant damage to Asgard, nearly destroying the city. However, once Hela assumed control, such incidents would cease to occur. The current Asgard differed from the previous Asgard under Odin's dominion. Thinking on this, Naruto set down the glass of wine in his hand, stood up, and headed in the opposite way as Thor. If Naruto remembered properly, this was the point at which Frigga would die. Naruto still admired the lovely and polite former queen. Naruto was determined to do everything it took to save her. Naruto soon followed his recollection and arrived in Asgard's jail. Naruto strode straight into the jail, regardless of what was going on outside. Sure enough, Naruto noticed Frigga in front of Loki's jail. Frigga was likewise taken aback when she saw Naruto, because she knew Naruto had no need to visit such a place. "Naruto, are you looking for me?" Despite her amazement, Frigga rose up and spoke to Naruto. "There's danger here, so Hela asked me to come and protect you." Naruto did not conceal but instead handed the credit to Hela. He believed that this would bring the mother-daughter connection closer. After hearing Naruto's remarks, Frigga was overjoyed. But Loki in the cage scoffed bitterly. He had not forgotten his last brutal whipping by Hela. Loki had no positive sentiments for the ruthless and unyielding king of gods. At the same time, Loki wondered why there was a mortal in Asgard. It appeared that this mortal had an excellent relationship with Hela. Perhaps he can take advantage of it. Loki was really deserving of the title of God of Tricks, as well as the title of Trickiest Man. The first time Loki met Naruto, he devised a lethal scheme. He had no idea that doing so would be his death sentence. Setting Loki aside, shortly after Naruto arrived at Frigga's location, a powerful force forcefully burst open a cell door in the distance. Next, a towering creature over 2 meters in height emerged from the cell, clad in dark armor and possessing a grotesque visage. He was a highly skilled and valuable asset to the Dark Elves, known as the Cursed Warrior. The power of the Cursed Warrior in the film was incredibly formidable. He thoroughly defeated Thor. In the film, a skilled warrior, imprisoned by unconventional means, abducts Frigga and poses a grave threat to Odin and Thor, two formidable Asgardians renowned for their combat prowess. The collapse of the defense line in Asgard City and the tragic loss of Frigga were direct consequences of this event. And given Naruto's professional mindset, he certainly wouldn't just passively observe these events unfold without taking action. Instead of joining the battle against the Dark Elves like Thor, Naruto chose to safeguard Frigga by staying at the prison. The skilled warrior also noticed Frigga and recognized that he had come across a valuable opportunity. Without hesitation, he swiftly moved towards Frigga. Regarding Naruto, an ordinary individual, the cursed soldiers completely ignored him. Even Loki believed that Naruto was doomed. Indeed, humans are quite delicate creatures. The formidable warrior possessed immense strength, capable of effortlessly overpowering even Thor. In addition, he possessed a commanding presence, with his towering height and formidable strength evident as he swiftly approached. When it comes to one-on-one combat, this skilled warrior has the ability to defeat even the formidable Hulk. Regrettably, Naruto did not possess the same strength as Hulk. As the cursed warrior charged towards him with the intensity of a wild horse, Naruto's expression remained unchanged. When faced with the cursed warrior, Naruto sprang into action. Prior to being struck by the cursed warrior, Naruto swiftly retaliated with a powerful blow to the chest. A distinct sound of clicking resonated from the chest of the cursed warrior, while a noticeable dent materialized on the armor where Naruto's fist had made contact. It's astonishing to consider the extent of the warrior's injuries caused by Naruto's powerful punch. The cursed warrior's grotesque and repulsive face also displayed a pained expression, and then he was propelled out of the chamber like a projectile. However, Naruto swiftly seized the cursed warrior's right arm, preventing him from retreating. Then Naruto skillfully used the cursed warrior's right arm as a fulcrum and effortlessly waved him around. Loki observed how effortlessly Naruto controlled the towering cursed warrior, rendering it completely defenseless. Naruto skillfully wielded the cursed warrior, swiftly bringing him down with great force. A loud noise echoed through the air as the cursed warrior was forcefully thrown to the ground. The immense force caused significant damage to the prison floor, resulting in a network of cracks spreading throughout. After experiencing 2 devastating blows in quick succession, the warrior succumbed to defeat. Currently, he found himself lying on the ground, gazing up at the ceiling of the prison. Nevertheless, Naruto did not afford the cursed warrior any opportunity. He swiftly dispatched the cursed warrior by swiftly neutralizing him. Farewell. Naruto casually addressed the cursed soldier before swiftly exerting pressure on the cursed warrior's neck with his foot. Once again, the eerie sound of bone breaking echoed through the air. Witnessing all of this, Loki was filled with fear and even experienced a tingling sensation on his scalp. He believed his physical strength was no match for the formidable warrior. If he were to be replaced by a highly skilled fighter, perhaps Naruto could swiftly defeat him with a single powerful strike. Is this person truly immortal? Loki let out a wild scream deep within his soul. He was quite scared. Simultaneously, he felt relieved that he lacked the opportunity to execute his plan. Otherwise, perhaps what befell the ill-fated warrior would become his destiny. Upon discovering Naruto's mortality and his strong bond with Hela, Loki devised a strategic scheme. The plan was to manipulate Naruto and then coerce and manipulate Hela. Fortunately, Odin's plan had not been put into action and remained a secret to all. It was only when Loki witnessed Naruto's immense strength that he realized the true danger of his previous plan. After defeating the cursed warrior, Naruto looked at him with a smile. This glance startled Loki, causing him to nearly jump up in fear. He held a profound illustration within his heart. He sensed that Naruto had a deep understanding of his thoughts. It was expected that he had jumped up. Naruto disregarded Loki's opinions. The brief look just now served as a cautionary message to Loki. Indeed, this individual displayed remarkable fearlessness in the face of all obstacles. He was incredibly skilled and cunning, surpassing all others in the universe. He was capable of accomplishing any task. If he had failed to provide a warning, the potential consequences for Naruto could have been quite troublesome. Despite Naruto's indifference, Loki remained one of his brothers-in-law. He was different from Thor. Thor still had a familial connection to Hela, so Naruto would make sure to look out for him to some extent. If Loki didn't cause any issues, Naruto wouldn't pay him any mind. We should prioritize gathering more information before venturing outside. Naruto addressed Frigga. With the demise of the cursed warrior, Frigga's future took a different turn. It was imperative to put an end to the Dark Elves' ambitious plans. Outside, a group of Dark Elves had gathered near the city of Asgard, prepared to advance with a formidable army. However, they encountered a significant obstacle: the formidable barrier that safeguarded the city of Asgard, known as the Asgard's Barrier. This was the final stronghold of the city of Asgard, capable of withstanding even the mightiest assaults from giants. It was quite challenging to overcome the obstacle. Malekith observed the city of Asgard's barrier that stood in his way, and a hint of unease flickered in his eyes. As per the plan, the cursed warrior should have commenced action by now. In order to overcome this obstacle, both individuals required collaboration and cooperation, both internally and externally. Otherwise, if the skilled warrior was eliminated, they won't stand a chance. Utilize the Singularity Bomb to effectively dismantle this barrier. Malekith addressed his comrades. The Singularity Bomb was a crucial asset in his arsenal, giving him the confidence to launch an assault on Asgard. Soon, a black bomb was launched from the head of the largest conical ship, under the control of skilled individuals. The bomb swiftly collided with the barrier and detonated. It generated a minuscule singularity in a split second that rapidly engulfed everything in its path. The singularity is commonly associated with the central region of a black hole. The primary purpose of the Singularity Bomb was to generate a miniature black hole. This weapon was extremely destructive and had the capability to annihilate an entire planet. Regardless of its size, a black hole remains a black hole. Immediately, the Singularity Bomb unleashed its power, devouring a massive surge of energy from the protective shield surrounding the city of Asgard. A tremendous amount of energy was absorbed by the miniature black hole, causing the city of Asgard to once again shatter as it was destroyed by Naruto. Attack. Noticing that the barrier had been successfully breached, Malekith wasted no time in commanding the Dark Elves behind him to launch their attack. Then, a highly skilled individual from the Dark Elves piloted a spaceship, resembling a swarm of wasps, swiftly approaching the gap in the barrier above the city of Asgard. Asgard's ships engaged the invaders, one by one, with precision and skill. Several defense devices in Asgard's urban area unleashed their firepower, relentlessly targeting and destroying the Dark Elves' individual ships. From the onset of the war, the situation was already incredibly brutal. There were skilled individuals facing mortality constantly. Now, the firepower of Asgard has become significantly more potent since Odin's reign, resulting in swift and devastating destruction of the Dark Elf spaceships. Furthermore, on this occasion, there was no disruptive warrior who caused trouble from behind. Upon Naruto's emergence, the balance of power on the battlefield had shifted in favor of Asgard. Impeccably designed individual spaceships, under the command of highly skilled Asgard soldiers, maintained a constant presence, encircling and subduing the spaceships of the Dark Elves. Thor's performance in this war was exceptional, making him a prominent figure on the battlefield. Thor was surrounded by a multitude of thunder, transforming the sky into a vast expanse of electrifying energy. Thor would fiercely engage any Dark Elf spaceship that dared to cross its path. In just a matter of seconds, Thor effortlessly obliterated countless Dark Elf spaceships. Observing Thor, the god of thunder, Malekith's eyes displayed an intense animosity. During the conflict with Asgard, the Dark Elves experienced significant casualties. These were the last surviving individuals of the tribe. If a Dark Elf were to perish, it would result in a reduction of the Dark Elf population within the universe. One could argue that with each Dark Elf slain by Thor, Malekith's heart quivered with fear. However, in the midst of the conflict, Malekith managed to regain his composure. At this moment, acquiring the ether particles presented a crucial opportunity for them to gain the upper hand against Asgard. According to Malekith, the ether particles were located in the city of Asgard. Execute a strategic approach, move swiftly, and success will be within our grasp. Malekith addressed the rest of his people. Currently, the Dark Elves were unable to find a way to return. They could only hope to acquire the ether particles before facing total destruction at the hands of Asgard. In that scenario, they still had a chance of emerging victorious in the battle. Under Malekith's command, the remaining Dark Elves eagerly piloted their own spaceships, converging upon the heart of Asgard with unwavering determination. Malekith stealthily made his way towards the site where the ether particles were located, concealed by the presence of his people. At long last, Malekith stood before the majestic Golden Palace. Hela escorted Jane Foster into the Golden Palace to extract the ether particles, also known as the Reality Stone, from her body. Now, nobody can hinder my progress. Malekith pondered silently as he made his way towards the Golden Palace. He was confident that acquiring the ether particles would make him unstoppable. Asgard would also quiver beneath his malevolence. At that moment, the door of the Golden Palace swung open, revealing Hela as she gracefully emerged. Malekith was intrigued by the sight before him. In Hela's hand, the Reality Stone, once solid, now quivered and morphed into different forms. Ether particles, Malekith exclaimed loudly, his gaze locked onto the ether particles, clearly displaying his intense desire. Hela immediately recognized the Dark Elf standing before her as none other than Malekith, the formidable leader of the Dark Elves. It was unwise to bring the ether particles to me. Observing Hela, who confidently held the ether particles in her grasp, Malekith couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. Malekith possessed extensive knowledge of the ether particles, giving him the assurance that he could reclaim control over them, regardless of their current possession by Hela. Regrettably for him, Hela remained silent after hearing him out. She couldn't help but stifle a small chuckle. Feel free to give it a try and observe how the ether particles react. Hela spoke confidently. Her assured demeanor also left Malekith feeling uneasy. He eagerly called out for the ether particles, hoping they would return to him. However, Malekith was filled with horror as he realized that his call had no effect whatsoever on the ether particles, sinking like a stone into the sea. Malekith felt a sense of urgency in light of this reality. He saw himself as an expert in ether particles, confident in his ability to effortlessly summon them to his side. However, the harsh reality dealt him with a severe blow. He received no response from the ether particles. Malekith's sole reliance was on the ether particles. Without ether particles, his ability to compete with Asgard would be severely limited. Then, his decision to lead his tribe to invade Asgard was no longer a calculated move, but a reckless and tragic mistake. Whether it be heaven or hell, the ether particles held the key to everything. It appears that you are having difficulty commanding the ether particles. I believe this may be due to the ether particles having a new controller. Hela observed Malekith's evident distress and responded with a sense of superiority. Then, to Malekith's astonishment, Hela effortlessly manipulated the ether particles, causing them to swirl around her. The obedient posture of the creature resembled that of a loyal companion, mirroring Hela's presence. This seems quite challenging. How can one effectively manipulate ether particles? This is a valuable artifact belonging to a mysterious race. How is it possible for you, an Asgardian, to have control over it? Malekith asked, clearly taken aback. He struggled to come to terms with the truth in front of him. It seemed that the ether particles were not responsive to his commands. However, how was Hela able to maintain control over them? His once reliable ally had suddenly turned into a formidable adversary. Malekith found it challenging to come to terms with this reality. Hela took her time before dealing with Malekith. Instead, she gazed at him with a mischievous glint in her eyes. It's quite straightforward. I just had a professional conversation with it and helped it understand that I am its most capable owner. As Hela's voice faded, a yellow stone materialized in her hand. Mind Stone, a crucial component among the 6 Infinity Stones, played a pivotal role in granting Hela the ability to manipulate ether particles. She utilized the Mind Stone to establish a connection with the ether particles, ultimately gaining their acknowledgement. This was the main reason why Hela would confront Malekith, armed with ether particles. Despite Hela's strength and assertiveness, she possessed intelligence. Why would she risk presenting the ether particles to Malekith if she wasn't completely certain? She had an unconventional approach, but was far from unintelligent. Malekith soon came to the realization that his chances were slim to none. He was completely helpless as Hela gained control over the powerful ether particles. Malekith deeply regretted his decision, knowing that it had put his people's lives at risk. Imagine the positive outcome if he had opted for a different path instead of seeking revenge, and instead focused on guiding his people towards a better life. Regret was an impossibility in this world. Malekith, determined, lifted his head once more after a momentary setback. On this occasion, his eyes displayed an intense and unsettling fervor. Given the circumstances, it was more advantageous for him to resist. The formidable creature, trapped and weakened, refused to surrender its determination to battle until the very end. With a sense of determination, Malekith charged towards Hela, brandishing his weapon. He had a strong resolve to face death, so he displayed a remarkable lack of fear. Hela observed Malekith charging towards her, yet her gaze remained filled with contempt. The leader of the Dark Elf left her with a strong impression of incompetence. Unwise choice, unintelligent adversary. He was not very effective. Eliminating such a formidable adversary would never bring Hela any satisfaction. However, Hela did not feel gentle. With Hera at the helm, a powerful surge of ether particles surged forth, directed straight at Malekith. Malekith quickly found himself submerged. Then, Malekith's body started to fade away. His existence was completely erased by the ether particles. The ether particles, once considered a formidable weapon, had now become his undoing. It was harsh, but this was the truth. Given Hela's mastery over the ether particles, Malekith's fate was inevitable. Following the demise of Malekith, the conflict reached its conclusion. This was a significant triumph for Asgard. Hela acquired the ether particles, which turned out to be the Reality Stone. Now, she held 3 Infinity Stones in her hand. Over time, Hela managed to collect all 6 Infinity Stones and transform into a female counterpart of Thanos. Regardless of the circumstances, the task of collecting the 6 Infinity Stones in the future posed an immense challenge for Thanos. Thanos was completely overwhelmed by the sheer power of Hela, and Naruto would be an even greater challenge for him. Hela's belongings were also Naruto's belongings. Do you think Naruto would actually allow Thanos to take his infinite stones? It was incredibly challenging. Furthermore, an ancient adversary of Asgard, the Dark Elves. Following the conflict, they were entirely eradicated. From this point forward, Dark Elves will no longer exist in the universe. Malekith suffered greatly due to his foolish actions. Malekith's war against Asgard was a highly ill-advised endeavor. In the original plot of Thor 2, the balance of power between the opposing sides was not evenly matched. Malekith's ability to inflict significant damage on Asgard in Thor 2 can be attributed to a stroke of luck, ultimately. Initially, there was the Cursed Warrior. The Cursed Warrior had Frigga in his grasp, leading to the capture of Odin and Thor, Asgard's most formidable warriors. Additionally, Odin struggled to manipulate the ether particles and fell victim to Malekith's exploitation. When Naruto defeated the Cursed Warrior and Hela gained control of the ether particles, Malekith's defeat was inevitable. He had little hope of reversing the situation. He had no chance whatsoever. His lack of intelligence led the Dark Elves to a dead end and, simultaneously, resulted in a resounding victory for Asgard. With 2 consecutive triumphs on the battlefield, Hela's reign grew increasingly unassailable, and the citizens of Asgard had no reason to question a ruler who consistently delivered victory. There were individuals who felt content, while others expressed concern. Amidst the jubilation of Asgard's triumph, Nick Fury found himself in a dire predicament. He had already observed an issue within S.H.I.E.L.D. Indeed, there were indications, but Nick Fury himself had disregarded them. Nevertheless, following the Battle of New York City, Nick Fury unexpectedly encountered a formidable entity within S.H.I.E.L.D. that exceeded his authority. It appears that Nick Fury has initiated a covert investigation. Then, Nick Fury was shocked to uncover a startling revelation. There was a major security breach within S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury expressed his frustration with colorful language. He initially suspected that Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. It was only through a thorough investigation that he discovered he was the individual who had successfully infiltrated Hydra's S.H.I.E.L.D. Based on Nick Fury's initial assessment, it appears that a significant portion of the S.H.I.E.L.D. staff could potentially be affiliated with Hydra. This number was incredibly frightening, causing Nick Fury to visibly lose color in his face. He had concerns about his personal safety, with a strong possibility of imminent harm. It was particularly challenging for Nick Fury to come to terms with the fact that within S.H.I.E.L.D., the leader of Hydra was probably his former companion, Alexander Pierce. Nick Fury and Alexander Pierce had a strong bond and a close friendship that lasted for many years. Nick Fury also held a high level of trust in Pierce. Aside from the principle of confidentiality, he had always been completely open with Pierce. Surprisingly, his closest companion turned out to be the leader of Hydra. Nick Fury found it challenging to accept this reality. Even though Pierce was Hydra, Nick Fury found it increasingly difficult to determine who he could trust. Just as Nick Fury was feeling a sense of unease, a sudden knock on his room door disrupted his train of thought. Nick Fury efficiently adjusted his suit to conceal any signs of anxiety from prying eyes. Then he politely invited me to enter. Soon, the door swung open, and Pierce entered the room with a burst of enthusiasm. "Nick Fury, I noticed that you have been discreetly conducting an investigation on S.H.I.E.L.D. lately. Have you discovered anything?" Upon hearing Pierce's first sentence, Nick Fury was visibly startled. "Oh no, everything has been uncovered." Wasn't he discreet enough? The infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Hydra had indeed reached this stage. Nick Fury seethed internally. He believed that the situation was becoming increasingly grave. However, outwardly, he maintained a composed demeanor as if nothing had occurred. "Pierce, may I ask who informed you about this?" Nick Fury inquired of Pierce as though it had never occurred. "Do not attempt to deceive me, as I am aware of your actions." Pierce smirked dismissively. He was familiar with Nick Fury's tactics. After years of collaborating with Nick Fury, despite his affiliation with Hydra, Pierce couldn't deny that Nick Fury possessed immense strength and influence. Nick Fury was widely recognized as the King of Agents, a title he didn't boast about. Even if there is indeed this matter, it is not relevant to you. It's not a responsibility that should be entrusted to you. Nick Fury arched his eyebrows and addressed Pierce with a stern demeanor. He was completely confident in Pierce's identity. At this point, there was no doubt that he was a Hydra. Put simply, his former closest allies had become adversaries. So Nick Fury's demeanor was also quite unprofessional and even a tad discourteous. "Well, it appears that you are already aware, so I won't attempt to conceal it. Indeed, I am a Hydra, as you correctly pointed out." Pierce made a direct confession, taking Nick Fury completely off guard. Furthermore, shouldn't he decline to acknowledge such matters and instead seek chances to eliminate me in order to gain control? Is it truly beneficial to acknowledge it openly? Or is there a hidden agenda? Nick Fury was highly attentive as he struggled to comprehend Pierce's unexpected confession. It's important to understand that his actions were essentially surrendering and making himself vulnerable to Nick Fury's attack. "Are you knowledgeable about this topic? Are you serious?" Nick Fury feigned surprise, but in reality, he had discreetly activated a button. Within 3 minutes, Coulson should make a timely entrance with someone. Pierce acknowledged with a nod. He no longer had concerns about Hydra being suppressed by Nick Fury once it was exposed. Don't try to deceive me. I am well aware that you are fully aware of my identity. You have thoroughly examined me in recent times. There's no need to be anxious. I assure you that I have no ill intentions towards you, and I have no intention of causing any harm in this situation, Pierce said with a smile, but his grin sent a chilling sensation down Nick Fury's spine. There was clearly an issue at hand, and it was of great importance. Pierce's assured expression left Nick Fury curious about his next move. It was incredibly challenging for him to reveal his identity without certainty. What was the secret weapon this individual possessed? At the height of a tense confrontation between Nick Fury and Pierce, Coulson abruptly entered the scene accompanied by his team. Coulson confidently led a team of highly trained agents into the office, their weapons at the ready as they surveyed their surroundings. However, Coulson was perplexed when he discovered that only Nick Fury and Pierce were present in the room. "Excuse me, could you please provide an update on the current situation?" Coulson inquired of Nick Fury while simultaneously glancing at Pierce. Coulson was a reliable ally of Nick Fury and followed his orders without question, so it was only natural for him to regard the other person in the room with caution. Nick Fury also rose from his seat, strolled over, and positioned himself next to Coulson. "Seize him. This person is highly skilled and experienced," Nick Fury told Coulson. He prioritized gaining control over Pierce. Regardless of the tactics Pierce possessed, as long as he maintained control over him, would he be capable of taking any action? Upon hearing Nick Fury's instructions, Coulson was taken aback as he turned his gaze towards Pierce. Without any hesitation, he confidently raised his firearm and took aim at Pierce. However, in the following moment, Nick Fury and Coulson were completely taken aback. Due to the actions of the agents Coulson brought with him, they found themselves in a situation where their guns were pointed at both of them. Nick Fury was equipped with multiple firearms atop his bald head. Every single one of them turned out to be Hydra. Both Nick Fury and Coulson were taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. This experienced individual, the agent who had a name reminiscent of a character from a popular comic book series, was currently feeling uncertain about life. At this moment, Pierce approached Nick Fury with a smug grin, causing Fury to become visibly enraged and taken aback. "Nick Fury, I previously mentioned that I simply wish to engage in conversation with you. Why do you have to act in such a manner?" Pierce expressed his satisfaction and joy, as he was now in a content state. He had been eager to do this for quite some time. He took satisfaction in witnessing Nick Fury's defeat. Nick Fury, known for his intimidating demeanor, was filled with anger. Was there any rationale in this world? Was there any legislation? Within the premises of S.H.I.E.L.D., the esteemed director found himself in a precarious situation as Hydra, the notorious organization, held him captive at gunpoint. Regardless of the outcome, this incident was deeply embarrassing for him and will forever be a stain on his record. "What would you like to accomplish? Or you're going to harm me here?" Nick Fury was extremely displeased, and he believed that his reputation had completely vanished. His demeanor was highly unprofessional as he raised his voice and berated Pierce. However, he was actually contemplating an escape from this awkward predicament. "I simply wish to engage in conversation with you. We should have a productive conversation." Pierce also changed his demeanor and spoke sincerely to Nick Fury. Nick Fury was surprised by this revelation. Was it really that straightforward? "Sure, let's have a discussion. Please prioritize releasing these individuals first." Nick Fury observed the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who had their guns trained on him, and addressed Pierce. Without any hesitation, Pierce readily agreed and politely requested that everyone go out first. Once more, only the two of them remained in Nick Fury's office. "Please clarify your request. Rest assured, S.H.I.E.L.D. will never be under Hydra's control, even if my life is taken." Nick Fury reminded Pierce to consider his own survival, ensuring he didn't overlook this crucial opportunity. Despite his strong demeanor, Nick Fury was currently feeling a sense of panic. He even believed that those Hydras would crush his skull. "Honestly, in the past, I would have taken drastic measures to gain control over S.H.I.E.L.D. However, now I no longer need to do that. Now, I would like to work together with you. Pierce expressed his genuine desire to collaborate with Nick Fury. Why did Nick Fury's response have to be so exaggerated? Couldn't they have a civilized conversation? What led to their unfortunate demise? Nick Fury displayed a dismissive expression and declined to provide any remarks. Internally, he contemplated the possibility of surviving the day and exacting revenge on Pierce. Do not dare to point a weapon at my head. If I don't seek justice, I vow to lose my integrity. Nevertheless, Pierce's following statement caused Nick Fury to once again spring to his feet. Our Hydra is currently under the leadership of Goddess Hela. I have no concerns about the possibility of you terminating our business later on. Pierce informed Nick Fury about his valuable asset, which was also the primary factor that made him suitable to discuss collaboration with Nick Fury. Speaking of this, Pierce was pleased with the smart choice he had made previously. If he didn't have the support of the esteemed Goddess Hela, he would be contemplating a rather unsettling plan involving Nick Fury. What is the reason for his behavior? Assured and composed. This was the benefit of having a supporter. Wait, is what you said accurate? Due to his surprise, Nick Fury's voice became significantly louder. Indeed, the news was incredibly shocking and quite terrifying. Was this Pierce's assurance? It's no surprise that he had the audacity to confront him face to face. Nick Fury was experiencing a headache. If Pierce's statement is accurate, it appears that he lacked the courage to take any action against Hydra. Hydra appeared to possess great strength, but in reality, it was quite feeble. Otherwise, what could be the reason for Hydra's concealment? Wasn't it because they lacked financial support? The full potential of the Hydra remained concealed in the shadows, unable to be illuminated. Given its exposure to light, it would be promptly annihilated. The current Hydra lacked the backing of a powerful nation. However, Hela stood out from the rest, as she held the title of Queen of Asgard. Opposing Hela would inevitably lead to conflicts between Asgard and the other civilization, creating diplomatic tensions. However, what made Nick Fury perceive this routine as strikingly familiar? Regarding why Nick Fury found this routine to be so familiar. Since Hela drew inspiration from the United States, the Lighthouse of Freedom. Considering the United States' ability to accomplish it, it's reasonable to question why Hela couldn't do the same. So, let's discuss collaboration. What about the coexistence of Hydra and SHIELD? Let's collaborate to uphold the harmony of this world. Pierce said to Nick Fury with a smirk that he enjoyed witnessing Nick Fury's deflation. It's unnecessary to discuss the sense of satisfaction Pierce experienced when he confidently stood before Nick Fury. Nick Fury remained quiet. He was unsure of how to respond to Pierce. He was hesitant, but he understood he couldn't decline. Could they possibly refuse the United States, just like those countries of lesser standing? Expertise was the bedrock of everything. Without sufficient strength, he lacked the necessary qualifications to decline. Nick Fury was fully aware that no matter how high up the chain of command this issue was escalated, it would inevitably result in a compromise. Human beings were considered insignificant in the presence of Asgard, lacking the authority to refuse. Stay tuned for more. And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, I appreciate your support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.